Great day, amazing subscribers. How you doing today? Thank you for joining us to one more amazing interview here at Lucia Gabriela TV, the place to be where we kind of explore and learn everything that we need to know about love, relationships, sensuality, sexuality, intimacy, and living in our life purpose and passion. But today we have an amazing and incredible couple, not just one, but we have two, and which make it more delicious and exciting because we kind of like it is nice to interview couples that they have like this amazing journey of being together and they have a different perspective. So it's just amazing to interview couples. I'm so excited for them. So today we have Dr. Heike and Dr. and Jonathan Hudson. So let me just tell you a little bit about them, and then we introduce you to you guys, and then we can start with this amazing topic. So Dr. Heike and Jonathan Hudson have committed their lives to creating a new paradigm of relationship and sexuality. This couple is passionate about throwing updated concept overboard and create new working systems. They are striving to be a living example of what a deep, loving, and conscious relationship can look like. Heike and Jonathan's passion is to guide and educate men and women in releasing anything that is in the way of experiencing the closeness and depth we all desire in relationship. What they have named Sextraordinary Living in the modern and healthy blueprint to live and truly turn on life in and outside the bedroom without the past experience of pain and trauma. As San Diego preeminent sex educators and somatic sexual healers, Dr. Heike and Jonathan are the creators of Sex and Love Unplugged meetup group and the Pleasure and Purpose healing system used in their signature program for men and women. So welcome to a show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you so much for saying yes to this invitation and for being here today to share with our community how to really be living a delicious, sexy relationship. So if you want to start diving into the topic, let's just do it.
Okay, all right, let's go.
Well, originally you reached out to me around the masculine. You know, what is the conscious masculine today, and especially how can both men embrace that and step into it, but also what can women do to support their men to step more into that role? So I think first we would probably like to talk about energies. I mean, isn't that kind of where it begins? That's your forte.
Yeah, I mean, everything is energy, right? I think everyone agrees nowadays to it, and the masculine feminine is really the dance that we have within ourselves first, and then also within the relationship. Mm-hmm. And it kind of plays out anywhere and everywhere, how we experience ourselves as well as our partners, as well as our sexuality. So it's definitely the number one step.
And you and I have already spoken about this. I'm writing a book called The Conscious Cock, and one of its main themes is that, especially in the New Age or conscious community, whatever you want to call that loose tribe, there seems to have been a dynamic where men have sort of lost their balls. They've lost that masculine primal energy that is every bit of part of a man. And our aim is to bring that back, to show that a man can be very heart-centered, very conscious of the planet, of his relationships, of women, of caring for women, of caring for his fellow man, in his balls. That's really one of my fortes around this whole masculine feminine dance that we call it. And so even one of the things I struggled with, you know, up until about 5 years ago was being a very heart-centered man. I never wanted to hurt a woman. So I kind of suppressed that desire, especially in the bedroom, to bring it, to be that wild animal, because I never felt it was safe. I felt like that. Uh-oh, where'd you go? Are you still there? There you are. I had a little cut off there. And Heike really helped bring that out. So why don't you tell people how you did that with me?
Well, it starts with what you shared with the masculine and the challenges that men have. I see it on the other side as women. We're just starting to realize that pleasure is our daily food. And for women to really embracing again their bodies, their sensuality, their sexuality, and making life a lot more again about pleasure. And so a woman needs to know herself too and drop into that. So we're talking about men regaining their balls. I can say for women, it's to really remember their source, which is their yonis, their pussies. I just, this weekend was full of that, from women marching all over the world to reclaiming themselves and their rights and their sexuality and their bodies. As well as me going to Mama Gina's event in New York, where thousands of women gathered to just really dropping fully back into pleasure.
Mm-hmm. Your turn.
I'm like, I have to mute myself every time that you guys speak. So I had to be technical because otherwise you get an echo. So I just want to express that.
Okay.
That's okay.
Yeah. The aspect of women coming together and reclaim our sensuality and our sexuality and pleasure is beautiful. And I love, that also Jonathan talks about men coming together, the work that you're doing, coming together to reclaim their cock, reclaim the power in there. Why you got a little cut out in that, so do you want to explain why is that so important for men to really tune into their body and be more connected? Why is that so important for men and their masculinity?
Well, as I shared, I think it was an unintentional consequence of the feminist movement years ago. Now, I always say, and I want to be clear, I am a feminist. I'm all about bringing women up and equal rights. But I think it was never intended to be this way. But men got shame for their sexuality, shame for what we call the shadow masculine, which is what you see in Trump, which is what you see in patriarchy. The masculine that has hurt women and tortured women and killed women for eons. And a lot of us, in that we are never going to do that again. We shut down that part of us that we, whether through our own programming as children or from hearing women or hearing the news, we're like, okay, that's a part of us that's bad. That's what we call the shadow. And so we shut it down. And what we ended up with are a lot of men, certainly not every man, but a lot of men who ended up being very feminine and soft in all departments. And because they disconnected from their cock, so to speak, and they show up to you as your girlfriend, or looking for mommy that they had issues with and never got mommy love, right? Most of the men we work with, every single one actually, has real issues with what happened when they were young, either from their mom or their dad, but especially their mom. And they show up in life to women subconsciously looking for mommy. And so clearing that out and getting the junk out of the body, and as you know, as a somatic body worker yourself, healing those old aspects up of the little boy and getting him loved up is one of the things that really helps a man step into his full masculine and not be scared of it. To know, the way we teach it is that we unleash the wild beast in a man, but the king, the heart-centered man, is the one that has control over what that beast does. And I think that's a reversal from the way of society now, when we have so many unconscious men just running around in this wild sexual, I can grab your pussy anytime I want to, I can do whatever I want to you because you're a woman. That's where that comes from. And so it's really finding, okay, we pushed the envelope all the way over to the other side here, and we showed up as women, in my opinion. And to come back into the masculine, because ultimately that is, at least I hear from all of our women clients, that's what a woman wants. She wants a lover. She doesn't want to be mom. She doesn't want to be coach. She doesn't want to be a life coach. I mean, sometimes Heike certainly calls me out on some things, and I think that's the beauty of the relationship, is that she calls out my masculine every day, good or bad, and says, hey, this is something to look at. Let's work on this. And I really admire her for that.
And we do, don't get me wrong, we do love the soft, tender man who
I am tender.
is very who is very conscious, and is that gentleman and the conscious man. It's just like the balance of it, the energy of that, because we also want to know as a woman that he can hold the space, he can take the lead, he can take control, so that we actually get to give up our need to control and to just always have the reins. And but it takes trust. So on the other hand, for women, it's really looking at how we grew up in terms of what did our dad represent for us regarding the masculine. It's really our first man as women, right? And then also our ex-partners. And a lot of times we don't trust men anymore. And to really go there and start cleaning that up, so that we can say, okay, here you go. You take the lead now. I can surrender. I trust you. So trust is a big, big word for women. And then we can open up and also then say, okay, bring it. Now I want more of that energy and being taken, because the clients, the female clients we have on the table, it is that part too that they're craving, to just say, take me so I can fully surrender. You show up fully as the man and I can drop into my feminine and receive.
And that's really hard to do for a lot of women, is to trust, like you say, to trust men. And you end up with basically two men dancing on a dance floor. You can't have two, I'm sure you're a dancer, you're Latin. If you don't trust your man to hold that space, to hold where you're gonna go next, it's like you gotta kind of take over. And what happens? It's like, it's chaos. And that works the same way in relationships. Now that doesn't mean that I cannot very easily drop into my feminine sometimes when I want to, but it's the ability to be able to move back and forth between those that I think is so important.
It's a dance.
Yeah, what I love is the fact that like you said, the ability to dance between the feminine and the masculine, and not just be too extreme or too hardcore or just one thing. Oh, I'm just going to be feminine because I'm in a feminine, female body or something like that. But allow ourselves to just dance with it. And that's the beautiful experience of the relationship itself, because a relationship, right, like Tony Robbins said, a relationship maximizes your emotions. So the relationship also helps us to maximize our dance between a feminine and a masculine. And I have a question to you. So what if you're in a relationship with someone, with your partner, let's say he's a male, and still too afraid to be on his cock, or maybe he's not taking enough action to be in his masculinity, and even if he is working on, he's trying to get there, it's still not there. I understand that we have to meet our partners where they are, but how can a woman deal with that?
The first thing is really for the woman to be able to drop into her feminine. So that, that this whole balance of, we usually are, when we're in neutral space, we have 51% as women, the feminine ideally, and 49% of the masculine. And the opposite is with men. So for women, it's the first step to bring out the masculine in their partner, is to really drop into the feminine and to take to hand over the lead. And then there's a big thing that the masculine strives on, is really acknowledgement. And, to really point out his strength. It starts even with the words, to admire his masculine, his muscles, his strength, and his protector mode, and his hero.
I love it.
His hero, right? I mean, all men want to be heroes.
Yes.
So it's for us to build men up. And what we find in relationships over and over, that there's way too much criticism going on.
Yeah.
And we have this rule of 80% is acknowledgement and praise and 20% criticism. If you constantly nag on your man, even saying you're not in your masculine and you know, you don't do things right, or you don't show up enough here, it's not going to happen. It's like finding those little moments where he actually is in it and to really acknowledge that. It's the positive reinforcement, right? Where you really go into, oh, I really love how you just did that, or how you said that. That's sexy. That was so masculine. That was so strong. And he will go for more. And then there's the permission, the spoken and unspoken permission and invitation then to really say, come on, show me, right? Really show me more of that. That was so beautiful. But it's really like, it starts with a compliment and acknowledgement of what is there. So many women are, well, not women, we all like to focus on what's not there and what's wrong. And I hear women over and over, well, men are not masculine. Men, you can't trust them. Men don't show up, and there's no good men out there. That's what you're going to get. Because there are good men out there. There's a lot of good men out there. And you just really focus on the good, and you bring it out and you voice it. Amen.
Yeah, the invitation to me was really the one of the huge parts. And another one is the somatic healing. Like I said, healing up a man's little boy that he's probably so often never got in touch with, that is the little pouty purveyor of so many of these problems that show up in life. Getting rid of old relationship patterns and hurts and pains. We worked with an NFL player, big 300-pound guy. He couldn't even go on the table. We had to put him on the floor. And his went all the way back when he was in college, and his first girlfriend left him. And at the time we met him, he was going through a divorce. He was getting ready to move out. He didn't know what was wrong with his life. And it turned out that when this girlfriend left him, he got so angry that he went from being a nobody in college to an All-American and to getting straight into the NFL. And didn't realize until he got with us that his whole life had been built on that anger of one relationship. And he was terrified to let that anger go. But once he did, his whole life opened up. His marriage was saved, his kids were saved. So it's really about what is going on internally that you're not aware of as well.
Which is a great point too, that men are afraid, and women are afraid of men access and let out their anger.
Yeah.
And to find a place where that's possible for them rather than suppressing it. So that doesn't mean in a relationship we throw stuff at each other. It means
we wrestle though.
We do. It means like finding the place for men where they can release it, whether it's by themselves, whether it's with a practitioner, or really making an agreement within a relationship where women are not afraid for him to explode, but not against her. It goes not, towards her rather than out. And so he can actually get into his passion and his fire again as well. We all carry anger. It's just societally not allowed. And yes, it's not for hurting others rather than finding a way for men to express it. And so obviously our table is one of the ways. Down in the basement is one of the ways. A punching bag is one of the ways. Like a martial arts class, kickboxing is one of the ways. But to really get this energy moving, because that's what we find too in these heart-centered men that are not in touch with their balls, is they've suppressed their anger. So that's not the solution. It needs to come out, but it needs a safe container to do so.
And I actually use masturbation for that. At least once a week, I will make a lot of noise during my orgasm, and that it's intended to take everything that's built up over the week, and this is kind of an energy practice, but I take any frustration or anger or just whatever that is built up in me, and I let that just roar out of me like a Braveheart cry. My neighbors by now probably think I've been killed 100 times.
Or me.
They're used to it by now with the work we do. But that really helps me, and I can feel it afterwards, how my body has moved that stuck energy out.
I love the fact that you mentioned I love everything. And I love the conversation. And I love the fact that you mentioned that through having an orgasmic experience, you also allow yourself to release any kind of trap emotions. And I practice that myself. Like, I call it orgasmic shower. I'm like, the shower, and right there is where a lot of my doubt and fears, I process a lot of what is coming up to the surface in my day or in my week. And
Yes.
and like you say, for women, pleasure is daily food. So we make sure that it's daily.
It is, yeah, you have to make sure it's daily. We eat and breathe all day long, right? So it's really what keeps us going and turned on.
Yes. And so some of our audience is they're just starting in this path, and some of them are a little more advanced and have more deeper questions. So for the women who are just starting to recognize the feminine and the masculine and working with it, and they are in a relationship with a man who is not in his masculine, and they're craving that energy for the man, you recommend for the women to step more into the feminine, to step more into their sensuality, their sexuality, to also have invitations, and hold the sacred container for the men to release the emotions. But there's a level that women who are just starting in this journey, there is like different platform, because they cannot be the healers and they cannot be the coaches and they cannot be that. We can only hold the sacred container for a man with boundaries around and with real communication, what is allowed, what is not allowed, to hold that for them to express their emotions and the fears and the frustration and the anger. And that could help. Like, I can see that could help. But there's another area, another group of women who are well into the feminine, who are very conscious and very aware, and they're working with the feminine energy in a deeper level and dancing with the masculine and recognizing, and they're still in relationship where the masculine, the men in the relationship is not stepping up, and they're still they're not asking, they're inviting, and then they're still at the same time there's nothing going on. And because I have elite women's circles in the community, and women circles, and women always reach out to me, and when we working with the goddess energy and with the feminine energy in the red tent, are women who are already doing their work. Mm-hmm. And they are creating the space for the partners, and the partners are not stepping into it yet. And it is becoming frustrating, and not because I have been there relating, I can relate very well, and I can speak for this group of women that what else can be done. Like, if you being in your feminine and you being very inviting and you be very respectful, you acknowledge, the acknowledgement is always there, and you there, and still not there. The man is still not there. The man is still holding back, and the energy is trying, and it's still not there. What can these women do? What else can be done?
It's an answer for two different groups. For women that are single, they need to change where they're fishing, because you don't catch marlin in a lake. You need to go to where the conscious men who are doing their work are. And that leads me to point number two. For women in relationships, I think it is their responsibility and duty to call their men out and say, hey, I'm doing my work. You need to be doing your work. And that can be said in ways that perhaps are more gentle. But I know a lot of women who have sent their men to Mankind Project, for example, their warrior weekend, which was life transforming. To ask your man to join a men's group that focuses on doing masculine things, whether it's a meetup or a circle or whatever. To make sure that your men spend time in nature, to make sure that your men have alone time, that the unconsciousness is called out. I mean, if your man is going every weekend and just getting drunk, watching football, once in a while, that's okay. But if it's a constant pattern, that needs to be said, hey, when I first met Heike, I thought I was perfectly fine with my whole life. And she said, listen, if you're going to date me, Diet Coke, box food, and whatever is out. And I was like, well, I want to keep sleeping with this one. So I threw it all away. But I wasn't at the time aware of my dietary choices and how much they were even affecting her. So a woman has a responsibility not just to criticize the man, but rather to shift that and say our relationship could be so much better if you would look at maybe doing some of these men's groups or programs or books or audio.
Well, it's really holding our partner, men or women, in their highest self.
Yeah.
Right? And it is not about criticizing rather than bringing out the best in each other. That's a huge part of why we have relationships, right? It's just the constant grow for better and more. And it does take two to show up. And it's not even so much about working on the relationship,
right,
rather than both bringing out the best in each other, for each other, just because I want this for myself. I want to unfold more and more into my highest potential. And so and so does Jonathan. So there's an agreement of using the relationship to grow. And you know, the truth or the bottom line is some men or women are just not willing to do that.
Right.
And then there is a decision time. But I totally agree with Jonathan. As much as women are starting to gather in circles, men need to do that too.
Mm-hmm.
So that it doesn't all fall into the relationship. Women have conversations that are not meant to have with a male partner because they can't relate, and they don't want to be bothered by certain subjects. And for men too, like we can't give them what other men, because men need to call each other out.
Yeah.
And that's been done in community, and that's what Jonathan says with Mankind, or all these different organizations that are out there today where men can gather and do men stuff. So not everything, or not even half of it, is what we as women are supposed to bring out in a man. For us, it's really dropping into the feminine, being the seductress, being in our sexual selves, and kind of, you know, teasing, bringing him in and making him rise because he wants to, not because even we want to. It's an invitation. So the more I drop into this, right, the more he can go, and just, you know, it's knowing yourself. To me, you said you have women on different, you know, levels or consciousness of their journey. And to me, the self-knowledge as a woman, the self-exploration of the feminine, our pleasure, what brings us pleasure, the exploration of our sexuality, the fully embracing our bodies and our pussies, which is to me like the main guidance system, that itself can bring out so much in a man.
And these should be first date conversations. I mean, we are all about authentic communication, authentic relating. For women who are going out in the dating scene, this is the kind of stuff that's discussed right away, because you need to be clear on what you want. Do you want to be married? Do you want to have kids? Do you just want a sex partner? Those are all wonderful things. Instead of playing the game of being somebody you're not, hopeful to just catch a wide net and get whatever you can. But to right away in the first couple of dates, put it on the table. It's like, what are you doing in the self-growth department? And to see and to be looking for a man that is aware of the necessity to do his internal work.
Yeah, it's really, I wish every first date would have the subject of what is your purpose of this relationship, if we have one. What are you looking for?
And who are you? And
to show up fully authentic, whether, you know, you're in this, I want a family, I want kids, I'm really looking for my life partner, this is what I'm looking for. Or I'm looking for a one-night stand, I just want to have fun tonight, and see where this goes. But ultimately,
that's where you put me when you met me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this is really what would happen if at the first date we would put all our cards on the table, and in the old paradigm of relationship, that's not being taught, right? You kind of don't say right away, oh, you're looking for the man or the woman of your life. But wouldn't it be cool if we could do that? We would save so much time and heartache, because we show up as, oh yeah, I'm cool, and let's see where this goes. But we do have our ultimate goals. You know, for myself, I had my children and my marriage and everything. I was done with that. So meeting with a guy newly that would want to have a family and kids, it wouldn't be mine. So yes, we can have fun then. We can find something there to say, okay, we can just be together as friends, or we can be together as lovers, but hey, this is not the ultimate goal that I'm looking for. So showing up as we are with really what we're seeing, and consciousness, health, or whatever is important to us, to really bring it out right away.
And how much of that,
you're good.
and how much of that will be too much? Because I'm hearing you, I'm listening, and at the same time I'm thinking myself, you know, if I have done that in the past, it would have been incredible, but at the same time it would have been scary, you know, like coming up to a dating interaction, and then you share so much of yourself, but also how much is too much, and how much is too overwhelming, how much of that needs to be done in sequence, because you cannot just bombard somebody with, I want this, and like this, and you just bomb, like the other person's too overwhelmed that they don't even know, and you scare them. A lot of people will be saying that.
I don't think that there is a too much. It's not about whining. It's not about having this huge laundry list. It's about our values. And that's like a big one to really, after this call, if you're single, to go home and journal about your values. What is really the things that are so important in your relationship? Maybe starting with a conscious man who does his work. Or maybe it's starting with, yes, I want kids. Or it's not like, you know, we take 30 minutes to explain what we all want.
No, but it's a very short conversation.
To me, the most important thing in life with any kind of relationship, even a business relationship, is like, what are my values? Like, what is really important for me? And it's not even so much what it's going to look like. It's more about what it's going to feel like.
In other words, when I met Heike, she was the one that was very clear. We were both coming out of very damaging marriages, and we were like, we are never doing this relationship thing again. And when I met her, she was very clear. She's like, the only box I'm going to put you in is the lover box.
That was an empty one.
Yeah, it had just
available.
It had just gotten empty, and she didn't want me as her like coffee partner or hangout partner or couples.
I had those.
It took us like months until we went and actually had a couples Sunday, because she's like, we're not doing couples shit. You are my lover. That's it. But as a conscious man, I loved having clarity.
Yeah.
Right from the get-go.
Yeah.
Because I could decide, is this what I want, or is this not what I want? So it was a very short conversation, only a minute, but it was the clarity, it was the authenticity. And I hear what you're saying, you don't want to overwhelm somebody with it, but as a conscious man, it's a fucking turn on to me when I see your truth. Because I can read right through the bullshit, I can read right through the masks, and most conscious men can. I can feel your truth. And so if you're really looking for, and more importantly, if you want to be seen by a truly conscious stud, it is important that you show up in your full authentic self. Because we can see it.
I'm taking notes. Like, I have 4 pages of notes. Everybody know, watching Lucia Gabriela TV, that the place to be if you want to learn everything about love, sensuality, sexuality, and all that stuff, you gotta take notes. So I'm like, I'm listening, I'm taking notes. I'm listening, I'm taking notes. So don't be afraid that I'm quiet.
And I know it's scary, but that's the fun in it. It's like, okay, if you've been doing it a certain way for all these years and it's not working, of course something new or different is going to feel scary. But scary is where the growth is. Scary is where the beauty is. You know, we always say fear is the only thing that gets smaller as you run towards it. Try something new, try something different, be yourself, drop the mask, and you'll be amazed what's on the other side of that rainbow.
And obviously, we were both adamant about loving our singles life, which is actually the best prerequisite to finding the one, when you're so happy and in love with yourself and your life that you don't need a partner to feel any better. And as you know, the end of the story is meeting, and we don't do relationships.
Never again.
To then really, it got just closer and closer, but there was no pressure, meaning we could both show up completely authentic. We had nothing to lose. We didn't have to put up a show so he would stay with me or the other way around. We didn't have to impress the other one. We would just show up, which is another thing for first dates, to just show up as who you are. It's almost like, don't do that extra makeup. Don't do that extra clothing. Just really show up here. This is who I am, and what you see is what you get, because whatever masks we put on and whatever stories we tell or don't tell, they will come out eventually. And then we're so entangled already that it's hard to untangle again. And again, it causes a lot of heartbreak. And so for us, it was just one night together turned into 2 to 3 to 4. We became more inseparable. He did go into the lunch box like my men that I had for just coffee dates. He drew up, like pushed out the other ones, and he just got into more and more of my boxes, until we said, okay, if we really are going to do this, then it needs to be different.
Yeah.
And this is why it has become our passion to teach others about that and to coach others about that, to really be conscious about every step that you're taking. Is this a step that comes from within and feels right for me, or it's something that society tells us? This is how relationships, like, the whole thing too, if you have your first date, when can you call back? When can you really have sex? Like, we have all these rules of whatever it is. I mean, our first date ended straight in the bedroom. That wasn't planned, but it was like the unavoidable.
And to be clear, listen, it's not all rainbows and butterflies. We have a magical relationship, but like any other couple, we live together and work together. We are together 24/7. Of course, we are going to get under each other's skin once in a while. It's just natural. But it's when each partner understands how to communicate, when not to communicate. That's kind of the big one. Like when the pain body is firing, it is time for you to walk away. And we do that very well with each other. Neither one of us will have a conversation with the other when the other is upset. It's pointless. And so we just walk away, and we respect that with each other. Understanding your triggers, that your triggers belong to you, nobody else. If she triggers me, it's nothing she's done. In fact, while not happy in the moment, when I'm the next day or a couple hours later, I'm very grateful that she triggered me, because that shows me shit I have inside that I still need to work on, that I still need to clean up. It's not her fault. And so much in relationships, there's so much fighting and blaming each other, and when really what's going on inside the body is just pain. That pain, the first step is if we can recognize the pain. And like Heike said, so you start with the journaling, you start with the precepts of where are my triggers? How come I got upset when she said, you never close your drawers? Where did that trigger come from? It had nothing to do with her saying that.
To only go all the way to source.
It was my thing going back a long time ago to my stepfather, who used to criticize every little thing I did. He was a military nut. And that was the root of it. And it still is the root of it. And so to look at where are my programs, what's firing? Because as soon as we realize them and we bring light to them, that's the first step to being able to move on and get past them.
Yeah, so if there would be only the understanding for couples that relationships are really not something to work on a relationship, rather than the best spiritual growth, self-help crash course you can ever have, by having these reflections going on, this constant bouncing back and forth, and to learning a lot more about myself through the other. And it's not just in the daily relating, it goes all the way into the bedroom. Then relationships and sexuality becomes your highest spiritual practice and personal self-growth. And that's, to me, actually what relationships are for.
Yeah, the growth.
it's not the happily ever after, which is, another big pressure we put on ourselves to say, okay, we're going to love now, we're going to be in this
Till I die.
Yeah, until death us apart. And we give promises of until my last breath. And sometimes we have outgrown it. Sometimes we have used and learned everything in a relationship to then say, okay, I'm ready for the next level, the next layers that I can uncover for myself through someone else.
And like, even though we are married, it's a promise. It's a question we ask each other almost every morning. Do you want to be with me today? Do you love me today? And the kind of, joke that we have with each other is, yeah, I'll give you today and probably tomorrow, but no promises for next week.
Yeah.
But we're serious about it, because I don't believe in that anyone should stay in a relationship that has just died or has gotten stale, or one person grew, as you say, and the other one didn't, and it's just miserable. Just because you stood in front of a priest and said, I'll be here until you die, I don't think that is the what we call the new paradigm way of, or a conscious relationship model anymore.
No, there is obviously, when times get rough,
absolutely
not the thing to just run away.
Absolutely.
It's like, what's in there for me? Well, what else is in here for me? And like Jonathan said earlier with triggers, it is that at least 50% of responsibility within whatever happens, to say, what is my share? Let me look at this, because it's not about changing him. And then eventually you might find, as you unfold, you might find, oh, okay, now we're just really, not a match anymore. And then that's okay. But there's lots of times too where we too said, oh, I want to run, but just bringing that out.
Yeah, that's true.
I just want to run away from it. I don't want to feel pain. I don't want to have drama. I had drama in my last marriage, and I'm not ever going to go there again. But then seeing, if you bring the consciousness to it and the willingness for both people to look inside, then it's the most beautiful way to grow.
And a lot of the core of that is really back to authentic communication. One of our best meetups is called How to Ask for What You Want in and Outside the Bedroom. Because so many of us, out of fear of being abandoned, or fear that the other's going to leave us, or fear of judgment, we don't say what we really want. I mean, if you want to have a threesome, ask for it. You may get a no, fine. But it's better than swallowing it inside and then never expressing it. And more importantly, those little swallowing things start to add up over time. You swallow your truth, you swallow your truth, you swallow your truth again out of fear, and all of those start to become like a cancer inside. And over the course of years, build up a resentment against your partner. Because, and this happens so many times too, when we go back to talking about criticizing or wanting to change your partner, what you end up doing in a couple years, whether it's 2 years or 10 years, is you have completely changed the person you met. So the person you met and you were attracted to, and you're like, woohoo, this person's freaking amazing, he's perfect for me, because of all the little criticizing and all the things he had to do to change. Not only is he unhappy, but now you've created a man or a woman that is not the person you met. And you're wondering, why don't I like you anymore?
Yeah. Plus all the facades that we kept up and the good looking good at the first date that eventually, we can't hold it.
It's true.
We can only hold it for a certain amount of time.
I love your too.
I love your interaction. You're so like, yummy.
We are.
Well, I've just been gone for 5 days.
Yeah, I can't get enough of her now. She's been gone.
Ooh, like your spice. I cannot wait for to meet you guys in person and come to your event. So we were talking about, I just want to point out something that I was just looking at through the note. When you talk about the aspect of trust, that for women it's such a big, important word for women to really feel connected with men. And when Jonathan was speaking, I kind of felt that, a man or a woman, right, that is dancing into feminine and masculine, when they really learn to trust themselves internally in all dimensions, to express the emotions and trust that they have the consciousness to know the limit of that emotion expression with that not create any harm to themselves or others, it kind of like becomes very powerful for women and for any man in a relationship to surrender and to trust, to also fall into the trust, the sacred container of trust. So when you were talking about the whole aspect of clarity and the whole aspect of the relationship, the authentic communication and trust is part of the foundation of the relationship. I love that from trust, it's coming into a different branch of authentic communication and clarity, which helped to, the way I see it, like it helped the whole dynamic of the relationship to be stronger.
Oh, God,
Yeah.
The way that I'm writing it down is just the way it's tying up with the conversation. Oh, so we were talking about, for those of you guys who are single and really connect with somebody or go to group and event, that they have conscious people that they do in the work, that they do in the inner work, the shadow work, and start relating with them and be truly authentic in your communication, share who you really are, and pretty much focus on the values. Like, what are the values of the relationship that you want and you want to create that relationship from? Like, what are the values for both of you? And also to listen to that response. And the other one was the purpose of relationship. A lot of people, I do know that a lot of people get into relationships and they're like, oh, let's just see where it goes, where it take us. Like, let's just go with it. Let's go with the flow. That's like pretty much a very common thing for like new agers, like, right?
Yeah.
Oh, let's go with the flow and see where this relationship goes. And what I love that you pointed out, that it's truly important to see what is the purpose. Like, why are we in a relationship? Like, what is the purpose? Are we a hookup? Are we lovers? Are we getting too serious? We want to get together? Like, what is it that we really want? Like, what is the purpose and the values? And have clear clarity of what really is happening, like what really is going on, who you truly are, and really show up like your authentic self. So that is for people who are, single. And so now that we're talking about people who are already in a relationship where you have become, and you said something a little bit about it, that you already are in a relationship, but you becoming conscious and evolve, and your other partner's not there, and you're still here, and you're conscious at your levels of evolution, put it this way. We know that the answer, we know that the journey is going to be tough, because one person's going to feel frustrated, even though that they're working on the evolution and they're working in the communications, and it's still not there. Like, what else can be done in those type of relationship?
It, again, to bring out the shadows, right? We got to bring them to the light. And the moment we shine light on all of that, festering there, it is about voicing it. So clarity, you mentioned earlier, but it's really the transparency, and it's starting to make those steps into a new way of communicating. And it's not about blaming the other. It's not about telling the other you're doing everything wrong. It's not even about what you're missing. It's really speaking from yourself in terms of, I would really like to have this conversation. And sometimes it's even helpful to put the emotions aside and have a business meeting. Like in every business meeting, you would go and check in every once in a while, right? Sometimes weekly. And to just say, okay, this is going great for me. And again, it's good to point out the good stuff first. And here is my wish to go into this area, or where I want more of or less of. And then you start negotiating. the thing is, what gets really caught is the emotions, right? We take things personal and we go into these wild ranges of emotions rather than let's just really come neutral to the table here. Where are we at? What's working great? And what can be better? And to really work as a team. And coming from a woman's perspective, if I come to a man, and this is really a very important key to get a lot from your man, is when you start your sentence with, I need your help. Not like, boom, 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 you got to do this, and da, da. I need your help, because it calls out the masculine in him. Mm-hmm. Men want to help. They want to be and deliver and give us whatever we desire. But then they also need tools. You can't just say, well, it sucks. Rather than, I really need your help. I have this desire or this need, and I'm trying to figure out even to talk to you about it. And I'm kind of even afraid to bring it to the table. Mm-hmm. And yet,
it becomes, how can I help?
Here's really my desired outcome, and then making suggestions. So if anywhere, even if it's carrying your suitcase, if you go out to a man and start with, I could really use your help, you will make that shift in him. This is just how the masculine works.
That's true.
Right? They're like, okay, I can be the hero, right? Like in that moment, I'm already putting him in the hero position. And this is the art of communication, how we bring things across. And if there's some things in the bedroom that we don't like, don't do it in the bedroom. Do it outside of the bedroom. And be playful about it, and call it an adventure, a discovery, a self-discovery, let's go on this journey.
What she calls business meetings, and this is great for your audience too, what she calls business meetings aren't done around a business table. We typically go into a sacred space, we light candles, we throw everything that does not serve us into the candles, into the fire, and we drop into a space where we are assured that we are only listening to our partner, that we're dropping all judgment, we're dropping all triggers, we're dropping anything that is not less than, because we understand that this is what my partner needs or wants to make the relationship even better. So there's something about creating that sacred space that opens men up, if they're willing to go into the sacred space to begin with, mind you. Now, to answer your question for tools, a great thing to do is invite men to maybe some of the conscious events you go to. You might light the fire. You never know they may say no a lot of times, but they may go to one event and they're like, wow, I want to know more about that. You can give them a book, a wonderful book that we give our clients is called No More Mr. Nice Guy. And I know women have given that to their men and saying, honey, you might want to read this. It's really cool. And so it's the way it's presented. Or, God, would you like to go and get Debbie Ford's book on shadow work? It's really a fascinating psychological subject. And when you say it that way, you're not saying something's wrong with you. You're saying, this is an interest of mine. Do you want to join me in it? And at least
to be okay if he doesn't.
And to be okay if he doesn't. Right, exactly. But a lot of these guys, a lot of men really don't even know about a lot of this stuff. They know you go to your circle and you dance around the fire and you beat some drums and, okay, baby, have fun. But the invite to,
funny.
The invite to, hey, I'm going to go listen to a Wayne Dyer chapter. Do you want to come with me? Can we do something together? Is there this psychological stuff interests you at all? Because I'm really into it. And that way you're inviting them to join you on your journey. And if they have a true interest and love for you, what man doesn't want to support you in that? But when you come across as, I need you to be more masculine, read this book, I'm going to be like, so it's really it's the feminine invite. And that's the key about being feminine, is you seduce me in even to your circle. You seduce me in, you draw me in. You don't command me in like a boss, because I'll run.
Mm-hmm. I would say the word is like seduction, right? Like using the sensuality and the seduction into, the invitation. Because I do know that men do love to help. Like I used to be one of, I also believe that this whole phrase has really hurt women and men, and also has hurt where we are, like even in the feminine movement and all that stuff. It really have brought up a lot of confusion, and like, and I really have felt the pain of this phrase, which is like independent, strong, independent woman. I totally have seen like how that phrase itself, "Oh, I'm a strong, independent woman," has shattered and created so much pain in our women and in men, because then the men feel like they don't, they're not needed, like, their help is not wanted and they're not needed, and the women become these double pressure within themselves that, oh, I cannot depend on a man, I'm very independent, I'm strong, I have to be strong, I have to be this. And I personally, experiment with that phrase for a while, and I paid my consequences, because it was very devastating, all the pressure and the energy around it. And when I allow myself a surrendering, I said, I really don't care what women or the women would think or society would think of me when I ask for help. Like, if they think I'm weak, so be it. If they think that, like, so be it. Whatever they think, so be it. But I surrendered to just saying, yeah, men will come to me like, do you need help? Do you want help? And I'm like, yes. And then I will come up to men and say like, man, can you help me with this and all that stuff? And then I have like 3 men showing up and like, everyone that should help. And I'm like, great. But I have allowed myself as a woman to receive the help from men and to ask for it. So a lot of my, a few years ago, I had one of my friends, she came to my house, and I used to have, I had my ex-husband there, and I would tell my husband, can you help me with this? I need this. Can you help me with that stuff and all that stuff? And she was like, oh my God, I can't believe that whatever you asking, they're giving it to you. And I'm like, how do you do it? And I'm like, it took me years to just drop to that, and literally drop the whole, I call it the whole, it's a very disempowered phrase for me to say I am a strong, independent woman. I don't recommend it, to even bring it into awareness, not into awareness, into embodiment in ourselves. So I love that you point out that, our sensuality and our seduction invite to men to help us.
There is a difference between knowing that you're a strong and independent woman, meaning you can do it all yourself, and to not act it out like that. Meaning, like you just said, we really build up men by asking them for help.
And if I open the door for you, I'm not doing it because I don't think you can't open a door. Of course you can open a door. I'm doing it because it's my masculine inside. It's my protector. It's my provider. And when you let me do that for you, it fills that archetype up in me, that king, as we call it, that I am providing this carriage for my woman. Please enter. It sounds silly, right? But it really means a lot. And so when I open a door for a woman downtown and she's like, I can open my own door. I'm like, good. I have no doubt she's probably single. You can be strong, independent, and single for a long time.
It took me the longest time to have my luggage carried by a man, because constantly just proving to myself and the world how strong I am, and then seeing really kind of that almost smile and that 2-3 inch growth in a man. If I would ask him, would you mind carrying my suitcase? In fact, if you hold this, you don't even have to ask anymore. It's really like the biggest shift is from dropping from being the king, the strong and independent king, into the queen, where you have your gracious strength, and it just comes from a different place.
And that goes all the way from that car door I was talking about to the bed.
Yeah.
because I believe that it is, and I know Heike teaches this as well, it is the invite of the feminine into the bedroom. Now, does that mean a man can't throw you up against the wall sometimes and take you? Of course not. But a man needs to know how to read that energy right, when that's acceptable. But for the most part, I wait for the feminine invitation, or at least go with, I try to match her speed in sexuality. And so that desire to give her what she wants, verbal and nonverbal, is always present. And when it turns into take me, throw me up against the wall and fuck me, I'm just like, same thing with the car door. I'm like, woohoo, let's go. Yeah, okay. But it's those invites that constantly draw me in, as opposed to if we're in the middle of making love and she says, God, I wish you would like learn how to be more masculine. Wow. I mean, that is such a turnoff in the moment. That's a biggest tool for your readers, is never, ever, ever, ever criticize in the bedroom, ever. If you want something else, talk about it outside the bedroom.
Or just guide against seductively. For me, for example, it's easy, and it might be another tool for the listeners. He knows, like, my sign to call out his wild animal is I do the first roar.
Yeah.
I step into my wild animal. So then he knows, oh, okay,
it's time.
We can go there now.
Yeah.
One roar of a woman will change everything. You got to call that beast out.
Well, that's kind of how it is in the wild too. You know, you kind of see the women and the tigers, and you see them being the ones that are like, that they bring it a little bit, and then the man kind of waits a little bit for that, and he's like, ugh, you know, he kind of waits for that for it to build up.
Yep. Roar.
Roar.
I'm taking so much note out of you guys. Like, I cannot believe how amazing you are. I know I can't believe it, but it's just a saying.
You bring it out.
Yeah, you do. You do.
You invited us
with that great smile too. I love your smile.
My seductive smile. So before we wrap it up, there's so much content that I usually, I watch. It's funny because I do watch my interviews like maybe 2 or 3 times. And my partner sometimes tells me, you're crazy, you cannot. Yeah, but after I listen to it 3 times, I'm done. But I take so much note, and I'm going to re-watch this and take more note. But what I want to leave to our viewers is that the few things and highlights I want to share with all of you is, how many? There's so many. Gosh, they're like 5 pages. Where do I start? Okay, so we went back into, I'm going to repeat it again. For the people who are single, start looking and fishing in conscious communities, the person that you will love to meet, and be authentic in your communication. Show up in your full presence, how you are and who you are. And it's important that you mention that, because I have so many people that they come to my practice, and when I ask them, so tell me, okay, they want to date somebody, blah, blah, blah. They want to attract women. And I'm like, who are you? Can you explain me more about you? Like, who are you? I want to know you. And they go silent for like 5 minutes, and they just don't know who they really are. Right. So it is truly important that for you single, really go one weekend and go dive deeper into yourself and really learn about yourself. Like, who are you? What is your purpose in life? What are your values? What is how do you see yourself in a relationship? Who is the ideal? Go ahead.
And if I may like interject, it's also now I just lost my point. Oh, whatever you are desiring from your next partner, you to first be that. And I know this is a phrase, but it is really like, rather than coming from an emptiness and neediness, it's like, if you want more love, you got to find it here. If you want more happiness, you got to find it here. And to really be what you want in a partner. it's another essential one. When you have a great question of who are you, it's also what are you looking for? How can you start being that to attract?
That's beautiful. Be what you want your partner, what you want in your partner. So I love that.
Yeah.
And we emphasize a lot in this conversation about values. Like, really, what are your values? Like, what is your purpose in a relationship? What is important to you? So, and have clarity. Like Jonathan was saying, clarity is the turn on. And I think it's for men and women. So have absolutely conscious clarity of who you are and where you're heading and who you need to be in some essence, right? Some of the other highlights that we that's not me. Some of the other highlights that we got was about the communication rules. Not rules, but like kind of step that we got. So I got to learn how to communicate. The other one was to learn when is not a good time to communicate. Also to understand your triggers, to recognize your triggers and where they're coming from. In our communication process when we're in a partnership, in a relationship, or even in our daily life. So I kind of love those aspects on those steps in communication, just to bring us more awareness to it. The one that I really love about you too is that you said that you have a daily ritual, and I call it a daily ritual because actually that's what I feel it is that you ask your partner, do you want me today? That was like, that bro, that was like, awesome. And do you love me today? I have that ritual with my partner, myself too, where I'm like, I wake up in the morning, I share every day, I love you because of this, and all this beautiful stuff, which is a beautiful ritual. And I'm going to add this one, do you want me today? So that is a delicious, yummy one. The most important, most important, I contradict myself, is a very important one, is to learn to ask for what you want and don't swallow it. Don't swallow the unasked question because it becomes toxic for you and your relationship and the person that you're with. I like so many goodies, but what else? We also talk about women, and we just drop into our sensuality and our full essence of feminine, and we really drop into it and invite and ask men for help and invite them like we got them right there, like they just get in there in all levels. It could be from even opening the door at Starbucks all the way to the bed, right? Mm-hmm. That was a good one. And never criticize them best. That was an awesome one too. For those who are in relationship and you are conscious and becoming more conscious and more awake and more aware, there are a few tips that Jonathan shared with us. That was make your partner come into your event and share with them books that you're reading if they interest you. So you're not pushing, you actually inviting, and you like attracting their curiosity. So pretty much that's the the other section, and the final one is the one I literally kind of resonate because I practice the same thing. I call it the love audit. Is where every 3 months my partner and I would come together on the table and we are like, okay, so where we are right now, where we heading, what is working, what is not working, what is like really painful, what has come up, like what is not serving us anymore, what needs to be let go, and if our relationship is still good and good standard to go to the next cycle. So I addressed that at a relationship. So Heike, I can't pronounce your name, but Heike was sharing with that also to treat it as a business. To know where you are and where you head in, and also create a sacred space for that negotiation, to that conversation about the relationship. So those pretty much, like I can say I had a lot, and all of you are going to be able to review this TV show, whatever, these episodes and take a lot more note. They share so much amazing wisdom. If there's anything else that you would like to share before we go, and also share what kind of event you have, what website, how people can reach out to you before we wrap it up.
Sure. I think the number one, the one thing we really didn't talk about too much, that is our main work, and I know yours as well, is sexual healing. Now, by sexual healing, we mean somatic healing of the energy stuck in the body that people are often not able to deal with themselves, or certainly with their partner, because it is too much that comes out. And so many people would benefit by the work, because what it does is it gets rid of all of those triggers. It gets rid of those stuck things, that whether you were something that happened when you were a child, whether it was trauma, the anger, the inability for women to climax and orgasm. I mean, to have those level 15 orgasms that most women have never experienced in their life, they don't even know is possible, because so much damage has been stored inside their yoni. So sexual healing is such a powerful process.
And yeah, where you can find us is at www.sextraordinaryliving.com. We have always a freebie there, what your orgasm says about you.
That's
you can pick it up there. We do offer free strategy sessions. And as you've seen, besides our sexual healing pleasure on purpose practice, we do offer coaching too. So if your listeners want to dive deeper, whether single or in a relationship, that would be me, because I'm the one that loves relationships and dynamics, and to really see how to open the conversations. And
we're working on, it'll be done within 2 months, we're working on our first online relationship mastery course, which is going to be 12 modules covering everything from energy to communication to sexuality to sacred sexuality. So we're really excited about that as well.
I'm so excited about that too. If you need somebody to partner up with, I can help out to spread the word too.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And to all of viewers, thank you for mentioning about the sexual healing and the aspect of working with the somatic way of the body and releasing the trap emotions, because it's truly important. I read from Wilhelm Reich, which it was the one that in the scientific community proved that, the body's connected to the emotions and all that stuff. When in the Eastern world, we already knew that we all integrative, holistic, and all that stuff. In the scientific world, like back in 1930s, they put this concept of the whole body, mind being connected. And one of the things that Reich mentioned in his scientific research, was that trauma cannot be just released through, the words of like just by speaking. Yeah. You cannot release trauma by speaking.
Correct.
The proper way of releasing trauma, and I'm saying the proper way because, as Jonathan said, the emotions are trapped in a very deep, very deep into the muscle, into the memory of the muscle, into the memory of the DNA and all that stuff. So it's truly important to experience somatic work, emotional release work, so you can open up more. And by experience, we know that somatic work will help you to open up more and express more freely what really is happening, what really is going on. So thank you for mentioning that. So you guys are located in California, right? In what area?
We are in San Diego. All the way across the country from you.
We have also, it's such a brand new baby of mine. I do have, last month, I've started the Pussy Power Network.
It's true.
Which is where all of us women are gathering to celebrate, to brag, to claim ourselves, to talk about anything regarding our sensuality and sexuality in a private network.
I'm not allowed in.
No, there's no cocks allowed there. Only the pussies.
So where can we get that? Like, how can we get there?
Actually, on our sextraordinaryliving.com website, and it's called the Pussy Power Network.
Okay.
it's starting to grow momentum like nothing else, because we women need to have that safe, sacred container where we can just really rise. And
Yeah.
I need to make a cock network.
Yeah,
Jonathan. So
it is network.
So what is the name again? Like the pussy what?
The Pussy Power Network. And
yeah.
It's right now organized all through a secret Facebook group, and I have monthly calls that are recorded, and obviously we're all popping in and for advice, for sharing, for it's a very, very powerful group for women really coming fully into their bodies and really gathering, because that's what we're doing. I have a retreat coming up in March, the Pussy Power Retreat. And it's really about activating our pussies and really stepping into it.
I'm not allowed for that either.
No, he's not allowed. Disqualified.
I'm like, don't you guys need a chef? I mean, something at that event? Can I park the cars?
I love that, and I love no cocks allowed in the pussy community.
At the end of this retreat, we will have an honoring of us through the masculine, where conscious men are invited. So he's at the end, he'll come in. Yeah, the network, you can find it and join it through the access is on our website. And
just to educate our community, when we're talking about the pussy, it's not just a word that is coming out of nowhere. Actually, the word pussy is coming from the adoration of the goddess Bast back in Egypt, and it was the cat goddess. If you Google it and you do some of the research about Bast, B-A-S-T, goddess in Egypt, you will find more that she was adored, and she have a lot of cats in her temples and all that. And because of that, she was named also pot. So that's why in English they took that word and they created that in sexuality, pussy. So it's actually an adoration of the sexuality, because Bast goddess was a sexual goddess. So she was all about.
Yes, thank you for saying this. And for the longest time, even for myself, regarding sacred sexuality, yoni was my word, right? And I realized that us Western women, we need to reclaim the Western terms. And whatever is there that feels and disrespectful and shamed or whatever, this is really our work here to clean up. Because we have not been grown up with our parents in society that our genitalia were called yonis or sacred temple. So we've got to look and do our work, our cleanup work, what society has done over thousands of years, from cunt to pussy to vagina to whatever it is, whatever is uncomfortable is for us to reclaim.
And to always look at why. I was on Facebook a few days ago with it was another pussy group, basically, pussy power. And a woman had commented on there, I think the word is disgusting. And I asked her, where does that come from? Because you weren't born that way. This is about reclaiming, but you need to look back in your past and say, who told me that word is disgusting? And it ended up saying that she got it from her church. That's the program. And that's the program that sexual healing eliminates. Is we go after what are the roots of what you believe to be true on a body level.
And it's also generational.
And generational, absolutely. And
collective. So we're here to do the work as women, and we have some cleanup to do.
Yeah, like we've both been following our post itself, and I totally feel that these upcoming years it's going to be the time for sexual healing at a deeper level. Like all of us sexual educators and healers and priestesses and everybody in the community, conscious communities, and even the shamans, like in all the native countries are coming up and to start cleaning up the emotional aspect of the sexual healing. Because many people ask me, oh, sexual healing is just about sex. And I usually explain that to start with sexual healing, you have to work with the emotional aspect of what's causing that sexual trauma. So it comes with emotional healing. So it's emotional mastery. You also have the mindset, and you have all these energetic aspects of the inner child. So it's like a whole bunch of stuff before we even get into the aspect of sexuality. But it's aspect, the whole shebang things together. So that's the whole sexual healing. A lot of people think that sexual healing is just going into vaginas and they're working in there. That maybe is a component. And it's like the last part that I would like to even, introduce into somebody's life. But I would like to, like you said, Jonathan, I would like to go to the core of what really is creating that trauma, that emotion, mess in the person itself that is just.
Well, the way to describe it for people who really don't know what this means in understandable psychological terms is that we are, and this includes you too, we are as somatic body workers firing a negative memory in the body tissue. So, but if I press here and there happens to be something there that she's stored that her dad yelled at her when she was 3, we allow that to come up. Right? And then we process it through yelling and screaming or whatever, hitting, banging the table, whatever it looks like, or crying in many cases. And then the pleasure, which comes at the end of the session, fills up this hole that we extract the root out of. Whereas a typical somatic body work, if I just let her go out into society now, she's got all of these energetic gaps that can be filled up by negative energy out there.
Yeah.
What we do is then we put the body in a level 15 state of orgasm that is just like one of those white light, oh my God, and it goes on for like 30 minutes. And that energy, regardless of the internal work that's being done, the energy of that's where the kriyas come and the body shakings. And that energy is filling up those black holes with positive. And in NLP terms, in psychological terms, it's collapsing the negative anchor. The negative memory can't be there anymore because pleasure's been put on top of it. That's the theory behind the work and why it's so effective. A couple of months ago, we were in New York at the Sex and Medicine Summit speaking on stage, and the topic was using pleasure to heal trauma.
Absolutely.
And how the idea of sitting around and talking about trauma to your therapist for 20 years is important, but ineffective when done by itself. And you spoke about a book, another wonderful book on this subject for your fans. It's called Waking the Tiger by Barry Levin. Incredible book, the Bible on somatic healing. He doesn't get into the sexuality healing of it, but he really describes why this energy gets stuck in your body when your body gets into a freeze state, the fight or flight or freeze state. And that's really a book I recommend because the book does come with tools that people can do on their own. There's some things people can do on their own. There's other things that they need professionals for.
Yeah.
20, 30 years ago, all the talk therapy was really strange to people, going to a stranger and talking about your problems. And so now sexual healing is the next level of, okay, we've talked it all and we're still going in circles. So now let's look at the cellular memory. Let's clear there, and let's add the energy of sexuality, not sex, the energy of sexuality as the highest healing frequency. And it's going to take maybe another 10 years before everyone says, oh yeah, I have my sexual healer. Like today I have my shrink, and the next time
acupressurist.
So it's happening.
Because for women, so much of the sexual damage is done in your yoni.
Yeah.
I mean, rapes and traumas or whatever, dad touched you the wrong way, or you had sex when you didn't want to, that's where the memory is stored. And for men, it's not, unless they've been raped, it's a little bit different. For men, we're really after, they store a lot of stuff in their shoulders and in their back and especially in their heart. We find that like almost all men have these plates that they've just put layers and layers and layers on top of their hearts, and getting that off before we ever get into pleasure. I love talking with you about this. We can talk for hours.
I know we can talk for hours, and a
whole other scoop here.
Like I want another hour. And I really, really appreciate you guys. So you can find Jonathan and Heike on sextraordinaryliving.com. And for all my amazing pussy goddesses, they have an amazing community for all of us to reclaim our pussy power. So so go to the website and reclaim your pussy. Check them out, and they do so many events and events. And what is the name again of the group of the working meetup?
In San Diego, the meetup is called Sex and Love Unplugged.
Awesome. So if you are in San Diego area, go to that meetup group and join them. Thank you so much for watching today, Lucia Gabriela TV. And thank you so much, Heike and Jonathan, for being here today. You can say bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. A blessing. Bye. Bye, everyone. Have a great day and make your life the best, okay? So just go enjoy life and just have fun. Love you. Bye.